Fine.
Brilliant. So like I said, already having given you guys all a bit of an overview of Sense anyway, and I know some of you are really have had previous involvement with Sense and well aware of what we do. But I thought for anybody that wasn't at the last meeting, I'll just give a brief overview. So my name's Carl Williams, so I'm the Community Fundraising Manager for Sense, based at our Touch-Based Pairs Centre in Selly Oak. So it's my role, obviously, as you've had lots of fundraisers over the years, my role to engage with the local community, tell them more about our work, and hopefully engage them with our fundraising. So I've been with the charity for just over 11 years. I started as a community fundraising officer, just sort of working on our events. And my role very much now is more involved in engaging with the local community. So like I said, giving talks like this or encouraging local schools, universities and businesses to support us. So Sense is a national disability charity. So we've got hubs all around the country, but we've very much got the heart in the Midlands, really. So our Selly Oak Centre is our flagship centre, our Touch-Based Pairs one, and it's it's our main base. And the charity began in the Midlands and very much is where most of our operations are. So we support people with complex disabilities to be understood, connected, and valued. What we mean by complex disabilities is people who are living with two or more disabilities that require a high level of support with aspects of their daily life. So people that are quite severely disabled and need extra support with communication, with their mobility and other areas of their life to access society, really. So some people have very complex disabilities from birth and are congenitally deafblind or are born with disabilities that have affected their, like I said before, their mobility or their communication, and other people have acquired disabilities. So they may have been born with hearing loss or sight loss and then developed other disabilities over time. So who do we support in that kind of bracket? So our belief and our aim is that no one with complex needs should be left out of life, should be unable to fulfill their potential. And we work with children and we also work with adults. So this is where it's slightly more complicated. We work with adults with complex needs, so with a range of disabilities, but we began as a children's charity and we work exclusively with children who are deafblind. So we work with children. That's where the specialism is of the charity, and that's kind of where it remains until this year. So hopefully lots of you will have seen our lovely building. So if you go down the Bristol Road, right next door to the Selly Oak train station and opposite Battery Park in Selly Oak is where our Touch-Based Pairs Centre is. So it's a fantastic building. And we've been there now for just over 5 years. So these are some of the things that we do in the centre. So we run sensory play sessions for preschool children. That's our Sensory Explorers group that we run every Thursday. We run siblings groups. So obviously for the children we work with, their brothers and sisters, we run activity sessions for them once a month. We do a Saturday team group once a month as well. So that's, again, all at Touch Base, where we might take groups of teenagers bowling, swimming, or do activities to build their confidence and their independence at the centre. It's where our holidays team are based. So we run activity breaks throughout the year for children who are deafblind and for adults as well. And the team are based at Touch Base who sort of organise all of those respite breaks. So Rosie mentioned about the cafe. So we have a community cafe that was open 6 days a week before COVID. And there we would do mother-toddler sessions. It's open to the local community just to come in, grab a coffee. And the idea really was that it's a space for everybody, really. So we also run sports sessions. So we have adapted cricket, dance, tennis, or yoga, all sorts of sports sessions for people with complex needs and also for the local community as well. We run community theatre and cinema days, what we did pre-COVID. The idea is they'll be up and running again very soon. And we've kind of been quite slowly moving towards getting those kinds of community sessions back on track, but it's been quite slow, obviously, with the vulnerable nature of the people we support in the building. We've been quite slow at kind of opening those up again, but it is in the pipeline. So our residential home teams are based there as well. So throughout South Birmingham, we've got lots of residential care homes for adults, and the team that kind of run those are based at Touchbase. We also run job clubs for disabled adults. So yeah, it's exactly what it says. It's about, again, helping people write their CVs, working with people on building their skills and their confidence to get them back into work, especially for a lot of the adults we work with have acquired a disability. So they might have acquired sight loss and previously worked. The aim of the job club is to get people back into employment and give them confidence to be able to apply, go for interviews, those sorts of things. And then we've also run pottery and art sessions for adults at the base. And we have a college for 16 to 25-year-old young people with complex needs. And again, that's about building skills, independence. Like a lot of our work, it's about building skills and independence and confidence and helping people to achieve their goals really in life. And that's the aim of the charity. So COVID has obviously had a massive impact on everyone. So I thought it'd be useful just to say some of the pros and cons of COVID within life at Sense and some of the people that we support. So right at the very beginning, we had to make some really difficult choices and we had to cancel our holidays program in 2020. So we couldn't run any activity respite breaks at the time because of the fear of the vulnerable nature of our adults, and obviously with lots of lockdowns and things, we weren't able to run anything that year. It does feel like a long time ago now, but strangely not that far away really. And in 2021, we ran a program. So last year we did, but it was very limited, much fewer holidays than we normally would. And that had a really big impact on families, feeling more isolated and more cut off than they would have previously. A lot of our parents especially rely on the Sense holidays as a week where they can have some respite from being a carer, spend time with their other children and spend time with their partner maybe, or do other things that they would like to spend time doing. And they weren't able to do that because of the holidays. And obviously at a time when they were cut off even more anyway, it was a very difficult time for lots of our families. We also had to make a decision about our services, so like our sensory sessions and our play sessions and even our residential homes. So our support all moved online, except for residential homes, obviously. So all of our support for families moved on to virtual. So we did craft sessions, we did yoga, we did sports, we did millions of different things. And there were weekly sessions for people to log on to take part in, not just in Birmingham, all around the country. Our fundraising was obviously affected as well, like with all charities. It was really difficult to, obviously my role as a community fundraiser was very difficult in terms of community fundraising, because as you guys would know, fundraising was so difficult really during that time, and also a very challenging environment for our charity shops to operate, with openings and closures and things like that as well. But however, there were some positives from the experience, and it was a time when, like I said, we were launching virtual sessions, one of them being our virtual buddying scheme. So we always ran buddying sessions, which were matching up a young person with a volunteer, and they might go ice skating, roller skating, go to the football, whatever both their interests were. Sense would match them up, and it's kind of like a befriending scheme. And that would always been a face-to-face scheme, but we launched at the beginning of the first lockdown a virtual buddying scheme to help ensure that people were still getting some contact. Obviously, for a lot of people, we support a lot of disabled people, they can be quite isolated anyway. So with the addition of lockdowns, it was really difficult. So we were conscious to make sure that there was some face-to-face time, even if it was virtual. And they were really successful. So it's been, we've had a great response to that. Lots of people wanting to volunteer to help, and lots of people signing up to be virtual buddies. So that's been a real positive for us. And we've reached more families and children than ever before. So we actually started supporting more children throughout the pandemic. More people were able to access sessions because there wasn't the issue around traveling anymore. So traveling to Touchbase, for instance, we support families who are in Derbyshire, say, who travel to Birmingham because there's no support for their child that's specific in their area. So the issue of travel wasn't there anymore because obviously people would just log on and take part in sessions. So we were actually able to reach many more families than we were before COVID, which was obviously a huge plus for us, and showed obvious reasons for carrying that on. And like I say, despite returning face to face, a lot of families, in all of our feedback, people have said they still want the virtual sessions to take place. So even families that live just down the road, transport again can be difficult. So getting to the centre when you've got a child with very complex needs, travelling and getting out the door in the morning to get to sessions can be very difficult. So virtual sessions have been really popular. So people are saying, yes, please continue them. We launched Science School as well. So I'm not sure if any of you saw that during the pandemic, but in the first year, we launched a campaign to encourage people to learn BSL, so to learn British Sign Language. We had an aim to reach 6,000 people and try and get 6,000 people to sign up and learn sign language. And we actually managed to reach over 49,000 people, which was fantastic. So the interest was really there. More people were at home doing things with their children, more people were at home wanting to learn a new skill. So it was the perfect time for us to launch something like that. And it meant that we had 49,000 people potentially who may not have had any contact with Sense before to find out more about Sense as well. So there were some real positives in obviously a very difficult time. So off the back of some of these positives, we decided to launch a new strategy, and it was quite ambitious because we were already in the second year of our current strategy, but we decided to refresh it with aims that were much more ambitious to reach even more people, basically. So the pandemic was showing that obviously things were becoming more difficult even for people with disabilities, and people were becoming more isolated. So we felt that we would sort of aim to reach even more people. So there were people that were basically falling between the cracks and weren't being able to reach us and weren't getting the support they needed. So our aim was to support 10 times more people than we were at that point, and to reach 50,000 people over the next 5 years, so starting from last year. So between 2021 and 2026, the aim is to reach 50,000 people. So that could be through a range of different methods. So I thought, if it's okay, I'll show you a brief video just sort of outlining the strategy and what we're aiming to do. So it's very short. If you can't hear it for any reason, sometimes I have issues with Zoom. There are subtitles underneath anyway, so hopefully that should cover.
Imagine a world where everyone can take part in life and enjoy those meaningful moments and connections that bring joy. Sense exists to support people with complex disabilities and those who are deaf-blind to do just that. But there are thousands of people who are still missing out on that vital support. And the pandemic has only made things harder. But there is still hope. By 2026, our goal is to support 10 times more people living with complex disabilities to take part in life. Imagine more children and families get the best possible start. More adults live and learn at every stage of their lives. More ways of tackling loneliness and isolation. More people have a voice who would otherwise be unheard. More people inspired to take action. It's an ambitious step change. But imagine a world where no one, no matter how complex their disabilities, is left out of life. Together, let's make this happen. Sense. sense.org.uk/strategy.
So hopefully that kind of put what I was explaining in a nutshell. And like I said, the aim is to reach a huge number more people, and more people obviously than Sense have ever reached out to before. And one of the ways we're hoping to do that is to expand our work with children. So as I said at the start, we've always worked with deafblindness has always been the specialty of Sense. So people have often known us as a deafblind charity, and we've always worked. We've sort of over the years expanded our adult reach to work with adults with complex disabilities, so a wider range of people. And we're doing a similar thing in Birmingham with children. So the aim is to set up our Connect and Play service. So it's going to be a new service supporting children with complex disabilities, operating alongside of our currently existing team that support children with who are deafblind in Birmingham already. So the aim for this team is to reach 1,000 children and families in the area. So in this will obviously help us to reach more of the families that we're hoping to support and reach our strategy aims. Once we've run the project for a year in Birmingham, the aim is to roll it out nationally. So there'll be lots of things we'll learn from setting up in Birmingham and running the scheme in the area, and then we'll be able to sort of adapt that to all the centres we'll run around the rest of the country, which will have similar aims. So one of the key aims for the project, which is already underway now. We've already got the team are in place and they're starting to advertise the services we can offer to families. And the main aim is for families to understand, to gain a better understanding, of their child's unique needs and abilities. So similarly to what we do with deafblind children, the aim is to kind of build the bridge between parents and their child, so to help them understand their child better and learn ways to communicate and play with their child. So it's based at Touch Base. We've got a new space that we are building currently at the top of the building. It's a new sensory play area that's going to be open to many more children in the area. So we fundraised for the project. We were very successful and very lucky to get some support from Severn Trent, who helped us fundraise for it and build a new area at the top of the building. So the reason why we felt like the space was needed and that the team were needed was we did some research, and we found that 95% of families with children with complex disabilities need specialist support to learn how to communicate with their children. And that is the main request that we receive from parents when they get in touch, sort of traditionally within Sense anyways, that they want to find ways to be able to communicate with their child. So 71% of parents report that their child's progress has regressed due to the delays in services caused by the pandemic. And 73% report that this has impacted on their child's communication, and more than 58% on their mental health. So obviously, as I said before, COVID's had some massive repercussions, and a lot of it has been within children's development. So more support is needed in the area, really. Local authorities have reduced their spending on early intervention services by 48%. So obviously with costs cut in those local services, there's less support for children. So the Sense to kind of fill that gap and offer more support is really needed at the moment. So what are we aiming to offer? So like I said before, we've got a new sensory play space at Touch Base. We're going to be running one-to-one group and virtual sessions, so still keeping those virtual sessions in with our new team of early year practitioners. We are going to have a toy and tech library, which will operate for families to be able to borrow sensory toys, borrow technology from Sense, trial it out, test it at home with their child, see if it's useful for them. And if they did feel like they wanted to make the investment then in getting that technology, they'll know whether it was useful and whether it's worthwhile. They'll receive advice on managing debt, advice linking them to other charities, and all the other questions that we receive generally. They'll all be open to a wider range of families. We'll be providing parents new strategies to communicate and interact with their child and feel more confident navigating the education and health systems. So obviously when parents have children with disabilities, there's a wide
What's happened? Is everybody frozen?
nowhere to start, and kind of they need support navigating that system from a specialist, so we'll be able to provide that. One of the really exciting parts is we've got new collaborations with various charities in Birmingham. So one of them is Kids Charity, which is a charity supporting disabled children, which I think is based in Sutton Coldfield, but operates throughout the city. And we'll be working with these different charities to offer the space. So the space at TouchBase will be completely accessible. Like I said, it's a fantastic new play space for children to be able to come and use. And those charities will have access to it. So if they don't have the facilities themselves, they'll be able to come to TouchBase and use them. And it's also going to be a sensory space for the local community. So say, for instance, there was somebody who wanted to find a space to run their child's birthday party or an activity, and they have a child with really complex needs, they could come and hold that at TouchBase. Whereas obviously finding a space that's accessible like that generally is really difficult and something that parents would really struggle with. But to have something in the local area that they can come and use, hopefully will be a huge plus. So that I thought was quite an exciting thing to update you about. Another one since we spoke is this year we're running a new campaign in the Midlands called Break the Barrier. So this is some of the wording from the campaign. It's set to launch next month and in the lead into the Commonwealth Games, and is basically about trying to help society to become more accessible, but also to put sense on the map again. So this is some of the wording. We all have barriers, the things, the stuff that get in the way of us becoming everything we can be. Barriers of discrimination, of prejudice, of assumptions, of misunderstandings, and sometimes our greatest barrier is the one looking back at us in the mirror, because we've just stopped believing in what's possible. But barriers unite us too, because we all want to break them down, whether we're abled or disabled, because we believe no one must be left out, no one should be unable to fulfill their potential. So this campaign will be helping to increase the profile of sense, but we'll also be looking to give people a way to help make their society more accessible. So that could be through encouraging people to learn sign language, to find out more about communication, to make their workspaces more accessible, to make their sort of social spaces more accessible. So there'll be lots of ways throughout the campaign for people to get involved and sort of support accessibility and inclusivity, really. So we're hoping it'll be a huge campaign with posters and billboards in the local area, especially obviously in and around TouchBase and Silly Oak. So hopefully you'll see lots of things around in the next few weeks that will be encouraging people to get involved. I think we're looking at a new radio advert as well that will go out on a local radio station, again encouraging people to get involved in the campaign and really sort of champion the rights of disabled people. So that's those are a couple of the bigger things going on. How could you guys help? Obviously, you're already supporting us as a charity partner, which is fantastic. One thing I did think you might find interesting is throughout next month, we are asking our supporters to hold what we're calling a sensational tea party. So supporters all around the country are going to be holding tea parties for sense with a sensory theme. So we're asking people to take part and find space in their calendars to run an activity. We've obviously got a fundraising pack for that. But we're also holding a tea party of our own at TouchBase Pairs. That's obviously quite a big ask to ask you to run a tea party next month, which is quite short notice. But if you'd like to come and join us as an individual, if you've got friends and family who might like to join us, you could basically turn up at TouchBase on the 1st of July, anytime between 10 and 12:30. And yeah, we're going to be running tea party, lots of tea, cake. There'll be lots of people that send support there. There'll be lots of our other supporters. There's just a good chance to kind of find out more about the charity, really. So that's quite a fun day that we've got coming up and a great way to help sense. Volunteering, if anybody was interested in volunteering, I mentioned the buddying before. If you go on the website, there's ways to become a virtual buddy and match up with a person that Sense supports it's literally a commitment of once a week call, like a Teams call, just to stay in touch with that person. Hopefully, make a new friend as well, which is great. We've also got family days coming up this year. So our children's team run family days where we'll be doing different activities, and we always need volunteers. So if you'd like to get involved with one of those, please ask David or Subdo for my details, and I can give you more information on how to volunteer. And like I said, a lot of this year is going to be around campaigning for Sense, trying to get people to understand some of the issues around the people we support. So if you'd like to be a campaigner, again, you can find out more about that on the website. And then here are just some of our main links. So we're obviously on all the usual things. We've got a Facebook page, we have our Twitter account and our website. All the details are on there. So check it out if you get a chance. And that's it really for me. I thought I'd just sort of keep it fairly brief this time, having already spoken to you. But I thought a nice overview and some of the things that hopefully are quite exciting things coming up would be of interest. So I think then it's just over to any questions really.